Thomas and Jackie Hawks murder case is a tragic and high-profile maritime crime that took place in 2004. The victims, Thomas and Jackie Hawks, were a retired couple living their dream of sailing the Pacific Ocean. This report provides an overview of the case, including the background of the victims, the events leading up to their disappearance, the investigation, and the subsequent legal proceedings. Thomas Hawks was born in Chino, but he grew up with his older brother James in Cardiff by the Sea, in a small coastal town in San Diego County. As a teenager, he was an avid surfer and boater. His father often took him on trips to Santa Catalina Island. He was also an adventurer. When he was 17, he built a 14-foot dory and took an 18-hour solo sail to Catalina. Hawks married, fathered 2 children, and later divorced. He moved with his sons, Matt and Ryan, to northern Arizona, where he became a single father and a well-respected probation officer in Yavapai County. James Hawks eventually became chief of police in Carlsbad. In Arizona in 1987, he met Jackie Newell. Jackie Newell was in a wheelchair when she met Thomas Hawks, the man who would become her second husband. She wasn't looking for romance when she was introduced to Hawks at a chili cook-off in northern Arizona. After all, she was mourning the death of her first husband in a motorcycle accident 20 months earlier, the same accident that put her in the wheelchair, according to author Tina Durman in her book, Vanished at Sea. But Newell and Hawks hit it off. Soon they were dating, and soon they were engaged, and in 1989, they were married. Together, she helped raise Thomas Hawks' 2 sons from a previous marriage, Ryan and Matt, and the boys loved her. The boys came to think of Jackie as their mother. Friends would say she was the best mother any boys could ever have. Thomas Hawks was a probation officer in Yavapai County, Ariz, and Jackie Hawks managed their real estate properties. After planning for years, Tom and Jackie Hawks eventually bought a 55-foot trawler yacht for about $300,000 and named it the Well-Deserved, which their tight-knit circle of friends and family agreed was perfectly fitting.
Jackie's coming today. Got the boat all cleaned up. And I think I'm going to take a shower after I work out and shave my beard. Not a bad beard for 15 days, huh? So waiting to see her. This is Captain Tom Hawks and Well-Deserved. Jackie, hello.
Hi, honey. I'm so glad to be home.
She's home.
Man, this is scary.
I'm gonna go play some more.
Okay. Be careful, honey.
They looked at that and fell in love, Ryan Hawks said. Thomas Hawks, working on the yacht by himself at a dock in an industrial area of Long Beach Harbor, added wooden racks for a kayak and a windsurfer. He re-equipped the yacht with the latest radio communications gear and got it just the way he wanted it. After about 9 months of renovations, Thomas found a mooring for sale in Newport Harbor from friend Carter Ford. The Well-Deserved was moved from Long Beach to Newport Beach, and then it was off to sea for the Hawkses. There was the joy of daily viewing the coastline from out at sea. There was the physical exertion of keeping the boat shipshape, something in which Thomas Hawks, an avid weightlifter, reveled. There was the exhilaration of working the boat in rough waters and the sunny days spent kayaking, swimming, or just relaxing with friends. For 2 years, they sailed up and down the California coast and the Gulf of Mexico, returning periodically to Newport Harbor to take care of things such as taxes and voting. The couple never tired of their life at sea, Ryan Hawks said, even though the Well-Deserved required a lot of work and a lot of maintenance. But in 2004, a new enticement beckoned back in Arizona. Their first grandson, Jace, was born to son Matt and his wife. They decided to sell the Well-Deserved and move to Arizona. They wanted to be around to watch him grow up, Ryan Hawks said. That was their next dream, to be grandparents. The boat wasn't going to hold them back. Tom and Jackie put their beloved Well-Deserved up for sale. Instead of paying a hefty commission to a boat broker, they were going to sell the yacht themselves. For Tom and Jackie, the savings of that fee was going to be significant with what they were going to have left, so they advertised in boating magazines, said Carter Ford. The Hawks placed a small ad in Yachting World magazine asking $435,000 for the meticulously maintained Well-Deserved. Now all they needed was a legitimate buyer, and it didn't take long. They got interest from a buyer for the Well-Deserved, said Caitlin Ruther. This buyer, though, was young, 25 years old. On November 12, 2004, the couple took their last trip to Santa Catalina Island off the coast of Los Angeles, California, to commemorate their passion project's imminent sale. By this time, Tom and Jackie Hawks had told family and friends that they'd found a buyer and that the sale was going to take place in the next few days.
Jim, Donnie, Brian, and Vicky, this is our last trip to the island because we sold the boat. And we're all having a really good time.
Now she's filming us.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jackie.
I'm so glad you could join us on our last voyage on Well-Deserved.
Next thing you know is, no one could get a hold of them, their son Ryan Hawks told 2020ths. For them just to shut off their cell phones and drop off the face of the earth is extremely out of character. I called my dad first. It went straight to voicemail. Then I called Jackie's and it went straight to voicemail. And they never shut off their phone, Ryan says. I was thinking maybe they're taking a last-minute cruise, and I talked to my Uncle Jim. He's a retired police chief from Carlsbad.
Here we are in the early morning. Jerry's skippering. We're listening to the news. And there's Big Jim. And we're going to be doing some fishing here.
Just a few days earlier, Jim Hawks spoke with his younger brother about the boat. It was very brief, Jim says of the call. You know, just, hey, ugly, we called each other that, and, if you need help when you get ready to move, just let us know. But it had been about a week since that final conversation. Jim decided to take a look at his brother's boat, which was tied up back in Newport Beach. We circled the boat on its mooring and noticed things out of place, he tells Maureen Maher. Then Jim Hawks and a friend boarded the Well-Deserved. I said, be careful, don't touch any smooth surface. Let's treat this like it could be a crime scene. Tom Hawks's friend Don Treffren also noticed things were out of place on the yacht. I noticed that the tarps up above on the deck on the flying bridge were all off. All the controls were just kind of peeled back and there was a towel hanging out one of the portholes, Treffren told 2020. I got a sick feeling in my stomach, you know, just a sick feeling that something wasn't right. The family found the Well-Deserved moored in its usual berth at Newport Beach, but the couple and their car, a silver Honda CR-V, were nowhere to be found. The couple's tight-knit group of friends and family knew Tom and Jackie Hawks had gone with the prospective purchaser to take the boat out for a test ride. They also knew that the buyer of the boat was likely the last person to have seen them. Jim Hawks, Tom Hawks' brother, left a note on the Well-Deserved with his phone number in hopes that the buyer would contact him, and they did. It was Jennifer DeLeon who called him back, telling him she and her husband Skylar had paid for the boat with cash in full. And Jennifer said that she was also trying to contact Tom and Jackie, but also had no luck. Still suspicious, Jim Hawks reached out to Tricia Schutz, a friend of the family who managed the missing couple's finances while they were traveling. Tom and Jackie, if they would have sold that boat, they would have deposited that money into their bank account, Schutz told 2020. There was no activity on their account, so we knew that something was really wrong. Jim Hawks contacted the police department and filed a missing persons report. Newport Beach police took on the case once a missing persons report was filed, nearly 2 weeks after the couple's disappearance. This couple were in the process of selling or sold a vessel to this other couple, Skylar and Jennifer DeLeon. John Julius Jacobson Jr. was born on August 12, 1979, in California, United States. He changed his name twice. The first time was before he got married and emancipated from his father. At that time, he claimed that he abused him. Then, fortune came into his life with the name Skylar DeLeon. He first appeared in different children's series, had a small role in Power Rangers where he had a short-lived success. At the age of 20, he joined the U.S. Navy, however. For an unauthorized absence of 15 days, he was discharged. Later, he met Jennifer online, got married, and had a little girl. He was expecting another child with her at the time that the Hawks went missing. Jennifer, a hairstylist, was the breadwinner for the family while they lived in a converted garage behind her parents' home in Long Beach. Given their living situation, the couple did not seem like buyers of such an extravagant yacht. Police searched the well-deserved, where they found a receipt from Target. The purchase, which was dated 2 days after the day, friends said the Hawks were taking the prospective buyer for a test ride, listed trash bags, bleach, and the antacid Tums. Target was able to provide surveillance photos of the purchaser to police, but investigators who expected to see Skylar DeLeon buying the supplies were surprised to find Steve Henderson, Jennifer DeLeon's father, in the photos instead. Police learned Jennifer DeLeon sent her father to buy the bleach, Tums, and trash bags so the couple could help clean their new boat. Skylar DeLeon produced paperwork for the boat's purchase, complete with signatures, fingerprints, and a notary public certification. Much to their surprise, Skylar DeLeon openly admitted to police that he used drug money to buy the vessel.
Very concerned, and that's understandable. I mean, it's been 15 days, and you can imagine they have children, grandchildren,
And a brand new baby.
And exactly.
Yeah.
So did you say, hey, look at this as royalties from acting, or did you even have to bring it up how you got the money?
At this point, I already knew that Skylar was on probation for armed burglary, so he's a felon, Byington said. I'm telling you, Sergeant, I want to go straight with my family. I'm a father now. I have another child on the way, and I want to do the right thing. So I'm trying to invest this money in a way that I can support them, said DeLeon. DeLeon told police that on November 15, 2004, he paid the couple for the well-deserved, presenting them with a briefcase full of cash in the parking lot near the moored yacht. DeLeon said that his wife, child, a notary public, and a friend from Mexico, Alonso Machain, were also there for the transaction. According to Skylar, Tom Hawks asked him, "Is it all here?" I kind of giggled at him and said, "Yep, it's all there." And so they basically said, "Here's the keys to the yacht," Byington said. Tom and Jackie drove off in the Honda, and Skylar and Jennifer said that was the last time that they saw them. Nearly a month after his parents vanished, Ryan Hawks was urged by his uncle to go to the media to ask the public for help after investigators hit a dead end.
Right now, our focus is on locating them and also the vehicle that they own, this 1998 Honda CR-V with an Arizona license plate.
Cops get the hit they've been waiting for, and it's across the border. We finally got a call from an American citizen down in Mexico who said, "Hey, I'm watching the news right now, and you say you're looking for a car, and I'm looking at it," said Byington. And sure as hell, here's the Hawks vehicle sitting there. A retired couple in San Miguel, Mexico, heard his plea, telling police that they saw the missing couple's 1998 silver Honda CR-V parked next to a mobile home. The mobile home's owner told Mexican authorities he didn't know Tom or Jackie Hawks, but that the car was given to him from a friend, Skylar DeLeon. And at that moment, any possibility that the Hawks were still alive died right there, unfortunately, Byington said. Murphy suspects Skylar and possibly his wife Jennifer are both involved in the Hawks' disappearance, but he needs proof. So he circles back to that power of attorney. Skylar told detectives the Hawks willingly signed it, hoping Skylar DeLeon could help them buy a home in Mexico. "They had a durable power of attorney, okay? That makes no sense," said Murphy. "That would give this young 22, 23-year-old couple, strangers to them still, access to their bank accounts." Here's the problem. The notary, a woman named Kathleen Harris, tells cops it's the real deal, claiming she witnessed the Hawks signing the papers and personally took the required fingerprints to make the documents legal. She said, "I was down there, I saw the transaction. I didn't see how much money was in the suitcase," but she tells the same story essentially that Skylar told. "They also had fingerprints all over the documents," said Murphy. But when cops asked the notary to physically describe Tom and Jackie Hawks, She stumbles. She describes Tom to a T, but she described Jackie as having brown curly hair, which was odd because Jackie, when they moved on to the well-deserved, she cut her long curly hair and she spiked it and dyed it blonde. So that was one of those things. It didn't quite make sense. The experts also confirm it's Jackie's signature, but there is something strange. Their last name is Hawks with an S, and she wrote Jackie Hawk, and somebody else came in later and wrote in an S that's inconsistent with her signature, said Murphy. Murphy believes Jackie may have been secretly trying to alert someone they were in deep trouble. She wanted to send a signal to somebody in the future that something here is not right, said Murphy. Suddenly, Skylar contacts his probation officer and says, "Can I get permission to leave the country?" said Caitlin Rother. So the quick-thinking DA comes up with a plan, and it's all caught on audio tape. An arrest warrant is issued for Skylar DeLeon for money laundering. During Skylar's interrogation, he confessed to laundering money from a Mexican drug deal. As the officer moves in to cuff Skylar, so they arrest Skylar, and Jennifer has the gall to start being angry at the police officers, like, "You have some nerve to take my husband away." And it was just an unbelievable scene, said Ruther. Detectives also head to that converted garage apartment at Jennifer's parents' place, where the two have been living. Cops hit the jackpot. They find all of Tom and Jackie's stuff. They find their camera, they find driver's license, and other kinds of very personal belongings, said Ruther. And detectives can't help but notice that in Jackie's driver's license, she looks remarkably similar to how the notary described her. So that raised suspicions about the notary. And did the notary actually witness these documents being signed or not, said Ruther. Cops are beginning to suspect there are more people involved with the Hawks' disappearance than just the DeLeons. Detectives also stumble across something else in the garage that raises a few eyebrows. One of my detectives found a business card from LAPD, and the detective was assigned to as a liaison with Interpol, said Byington. Newport police contact the Interpol agent, and when detectives reveal they're investigating Skylar's possible involvement in the disappearance of the Hawks, the agent hits them with some big news. He says, "That's funny because I was talking to him a year ago because we were looking at him for murder of an American citizen named Jarvie in Mexico," said Byington. I go, "They killed the Hawks because this is no way, this is too much of a coincidence." In December 2003, a year before the Hawks' disappearance, DeLeon sold Jarvie on a business proposition to make a large sum of money. Jarvie gave DeLeon $50,000 in cash, then accompanied DeLeon to Mexico, where he was supposed to complete the big score DeLeon told him about. Jarvie never returned, but Mexican federales could never link Skylar DeLeon to the murder. "We have no proof he did anything illegal, but it stinks on ice," said Byington. The noose is quickly tightening around Skylar DeLeon and the disappearance of Tom and Jackie Hawks. Cops just need to figure out motive and method. On a hunch, Murphy calls an old boating buddy he met in Indonesia named Salty Sam. I'm like, "Hey man, what should we be looking for on a boat if we're trying to figure out if there was a murder committed?" And without skipping a beat, he said, "Look for missing anchors," said Matt Murphy. Investigators go back to the ad the Hawks had placed in that yachting magazine. "And in every single photo, there were 2 anchors on the bow," said Murphy. They rush back out to the harbor to check the well-deserved. And sure enough, on the bow of the boat, there's only 1 anchor, and there should have been 2, said Murphy. Cops claim Skylar DeLeon is actually a master manipulator. Detectives don't believe DeLeon ever intended to buy Tom and Jackie Hawks' yacht. Instead, they say he hatched a twisted plan to steal it by murdering the Hawks in cold blood. Kathleen Harris, the notary who certified the paperwork for the sale of the well-deserved, was interviewed by police several times. She repeatedly denied that anything was amiss until the day she came clean. She came in and she said she'd never met Tom and Jackie Hawks. She had nothing to do with the murder. Former Orange County prosecutor Matt Murphy, now an ABC News consultant, said. She was given documents and paid in cash to backdate the documents, and so she backdated them to November 15th, which was the day that they went missing. That was the first domino to fall, Byington said. Then we started pressuring everybody else because we knew everybody else had lied to us too. Alonzo McChain was the next to reveal his role in the murder. Detectives turn on a tape recorder and Alcino McChain tells his story.
I'm asking you, if at all possible, to just be as honest as you possibly can be. It would help us get the puzzle together and know the truth.
Skylar approaches me with this plan he has. He was gonna do something that was gonna make some money, so he offers me to help him. The plan is that we were supposed to basically kidnap them and take them out to sea and toss them overboard.
And how was he planning to do that?
Tasers.
A taser.
First,
Tasers?
he thought of tasers.
Okay, did he have 2 tasers?
Yeah. He told me to get handcuffs. I purchased the handcuffs at Uniform Express.
And before you got on the boat, what did you have an exact plan as to how this was going to go down?
No. I wasn't paying attention. I was just talking to her, and she kind of rushes towards me and kind of leans over to see what was going on at the bottom. And she's screaming, "Oh, what's going on?" And that's when they were actually holding him down. Then that's when I realized that I had to, hold her. I was able to cuff Mrs. Hawk. At this time, I walked her down to the bedroom area where Skylar told me to go get some tape from the engine room. Got some duct tape. He got the tape and he told me to tape their eyes, tape their mouth. And at this point, Skylar went up and programmed the GPS system to go out. And he has me basically babysitting. They're on the bed, they're laying on the bed.
And they're handcuffed?
They're handcuffed, yes.
And tape over their mouths?
Yeah.
And their eyes?
Nice.
What happened next?
They had them one by one go up to the kitchen area where she was first. They had her sign that power of attorney. Then Skylar, he was looking for a third anchor to push them over. Just got some rope, brought them to the back, tied them together. They didn't know what was going on, and then Mr. Hawk was able to lift his legs somehow, and he tossed Skylar off his feet and knocked him on his butt.
By kicking him?
Yeah, and right behind him, the black guy just takes a big swing at his side of his head, and I'm pretty sure he knocked him out. I didn't believe what I was looking at. He just pushed him.
Where was the anchor at this moment before they were pushed?
Right before Skylar was holding him.
What did he do with the anchor?
He tossed it over.
At the same time they were being pushed, or?
At the same time.
What was Skylar acting? Maybe while this was happening?
He was calm.
This is while they were being bound and tossed overboard.
He was calm. He was like, it was the most normal thing.
On November 6, 2004, DeLeon and McChain went down to the waterfront to meet Tom and Jackie Hawks. Tom, who was smart and savvy, didn't like what he saw. Thomas Hawks had been a probation officer for 20 years, and Thomas Hawks was kinda leery, Murphy explains. Tom was asking $435,000 for the well-deserved. DeLeon just didn't look like the kind of guy with that type of cash. When Jackie started proudly boasting about her new grandchild, he saw his opening. Family. And the first thing that Skylar did when they got off the boat is he picked up his phone and called Jennifer up in Long Beach, and he said, "You gotta come down here and bring Haley and put these people at ease," Murphy says. Jennifer came down that same day. The disgraced Marine sized up the lifelong public servant mentally and physically. "And what did you think when you saw Tom?" Mahar asks. "The fact that he's pretty big," DeLeon replies. The gang of two needed a tough guy. Byington says DeLeon recruited a gang member from Long Beach named John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Arrested more than 20 times, JFK joined the plot. DeLeon set a date to test drive the boat while Jennifer stayed home, her child having served her purpose. November 15th, 2004. McShane came along and JFK even wore a suit. DeLeon told Tom and Jackie that Kennedy was his accountant. The well-deserved headed out to sea. The boat was now anchored well outside Newport Beach Harbor. DeLeon went below. Moments later, John F. Kennedy, the hulking gangbanger who was pretending to be DeLeon's accountant, also came down, feigning seasickness. Eventually, Thomas Hawks also goes down to investigate, because they're not returning, explains Byington. He says Jackie remained on deck with a jittery Alonzo McShane. Jackie first hears a commotion down in the stateroom, Byington continues. And at this point, she sees Thomas Hawks being choked by John Fitzgerald Kennedy and being struck by Skylar DeLeon. Alonzo now knows he has to do his part, and he starts to overpower Jackie first by applying the taser. And he actually overpowers this poor woman, puts handcuffs on her. Skylar and John Fitzgerald Kennedy end up overpowering Thomas Hawks, handcuff him. And eventually, Jackie Hawks is brought downstairs with Thomas Hawks, and they are laid on their bed. Tom Hawks was overpowered by the group after a fierce struggle and eventually handcuffed. He was tasered multiple times before he could be subdued. McShane was tasked with retraining Jackie Hawks, who also fought back. Their eyes and mouths were taped shut, and they were tied together and handcuffed on a bed. Eventually, they were forced to sign sales documents for the yacht. Jackie Hawks begged for their lives, saying they wanted to live and spend time with their new grandson. She was screaming, scared and shaking, McShane testified, according to news articles at the time. She was overwhelmed with what was going on, McShane said. Tom was calm. She screams at Skylar that we trusted you and your wife came over. You had your little girl over. Why are you doing this? Hawks comforted his wife by stroking her hand, McShane testified. Tom and Jackie were dragged up on deck. That's when, Byington says, they heard the sound. He hears the chain coming, there's no doubt. McShane testified he watched as DeLeon grabbed an anchor. Skylar gets behind and starts and actually hooks the anchor to the rope. So now this anchor is now attached to these two poor people. He heard that sound 100 times, says Ryan, and he's like, son of a bitch, they're not gonna let us go. Aware of his destiny, Tom fought back one last time. He basically does a reverse mule kick with his leg and kicks Skylar, and he kicks him so severely that Skylar's lifted up off his feet and lands on his backside, Byington explains. John Fitzgerald Kennedy sees this, and JFK is a big man and he levels him, hits him. It knocks Thomas Hawks out. The punch is so severe and so violent. With the anchor chain tied around the couple, DeLeon threw the anchor over. The chain fed out to sea, slowly pulling Tom and Jackie into the icy waters. So that's where they are now. They're 3,600 feet below the cold Pacific Ocean, tied to an anchor. Telling investigators after DeLeon threw the Hawks overboard, he started getting rid of any sign of the Hawks. He collected all of Tom and Jackie's personal photographs and tossed them overboard like they were frisbees, said Matt Murphy. Skylar had no remorse at all. Skylar DeLeon is a complete psychopath. Once DeLeon got rid of the evidence, McShane tells investigators DeLeon and John Kennedy kicked back and started fishing on the way back to harbor in Newport Beach, California. How was Skylar acting maybe while this was happening? He was calm, like it was the most normal thing. DeLeon called his wife Jennifer on his cell phone. I remember her asking if he was sure the couple was dead. He was like, I'm sure. Sergeant Saylor says DeLeon had a motto, no body, no crime. DeLeon thought he was going to get away with it because there were no bodies. Skylar DeLeon, John Kennedy, and Alonzo McShane are all charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Days later, Jennifer DeLeon is still standing by her man, telling a Los Angeles television station her husband is absolutely innocent. Cops say not only is Skylar guilty, but Jennifer is too. Prosecutors charged Jennifer with 2 counts of murder, claiming she helped carry out the murders from the shore. The motive clear and simple. The DeLeons wanted money. She's a witch. She knew that they had no money, and yet she's going out to meet the people that are selling Skylar this yacht, and she's bringing her child, said Byington. She might as well have tied the anchor to those people and thrown them over too. Separate juries hear each case, but they all come back with the same verdict. Guilty. Jennifer DeLeon is sentenced to life in prison. Alonzo McCain is given leniency and sentenced to 20 years. John F. Kennedy is sentenced to death for the double murder. Before Skylar DeLeon's trial even begins, he's hit with a 3rd murder rap. He not only murdered the Hawks, but he slit the throat of another American in Mexico a year earlier, said Byington. Nearly 5 years after the Hawks were murdered, Skylar DeLeon faces trial. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. There was another motive, and it was a primary motive, and that was that Skylar DeLeon wanted to get gender reassignment surgery, said crime author Caitlin Rother. Rother, who wrote the book about the Hawks' grisly murders titled Dead Reckoning, says DeLeon desperately needed $17,000 to pay for surgery to transition. He had already put down a $500 deposit on this surgery and had one scheduled for 2 weeks after the Hawks were murdered, but they didn't have the money, said Rother. Rother knows Skylar DeLeon as well as anyone. She started visiting him in prison while researching her book. All Skylar wanted to talk was how he wanted to get rid of his penis, said Rother. But with no money and thinking there was no chance of making the transition while sitting in a cell, Rother says Skylar made a desperate attempt. He tried to cut his penis off in jail with a razor, said Rother. But now the state of California is paying for Skylar DeLeon to transition to a woman. DeLeon is currently sitting in the psych ward on death row at San Quentin. And Skylar is now living as a woman and wants to be called she, said Rother. It's ridiculous, said Byington. There are legitimate people out there with transgender issues that work their tails off their whole life, if they are lucky enough to get a surgery. Skylar doesn't deserve that right. Skylar doesn't get to kill people and then get rewarded, and that's kind of the way it feels. Skylar DeLeon and his wife have since divorced while behind bars. DeLeon continues to maintain he had nothing to do with the Hawks' deaths and has appealed his conviction. The Thomas and Jackie Hawks murder case remains a heartbreaking chapter in maritime crime history. The senseless loss of 2 lives serves as a stark reminder of the importance of caution and due diligence, even in seemingly routine transactions. The conviction of Skylar DeLeon and Jennifer Henderson brought a measure of justice to this devastating case, but it cannot undo the pain and suffering inflicted upon the Hawks' family and friends.